Opposition leader Peter Dutton has accused Anthony Albanese of withholding detail on The Voice, calling it a deliberate strategy. The PM has just spoken from the Garma Festival in Arnhem Land. Have a listen.
I am particularly disappointed that people in positions of leadership who know what they are doing, who know exactly the consequences of what they are doing, who should know better, are prepared to prioritise what they see as a political advantage.
Nationals leader David Littleproud joins me now. David, thank you for your time. Now, he's referring specifically to you and Peter Dutton, isn't he?
Oh, he is, but what the Prime Minister needs to understand, this is his referendum. This is his question. The onus of responsibility is on him to demonstrate to the Australian people that they are going to change the Constitution, make a significant change to the Constitution, one that many will never see again in their lifetime. So it's important on him that he builds trust. He builds trust with the Australian people by bringing them into his trust and opening up the details. He won't put the legislation of the mechanics of The Voice in Parliament, not just for politicians to see, but for every Australian to see. And then when he talks about the Uluru Statement from the Heart, at times he's conveniently forgotten that it's three components. It's voice, truth and treaty. And he needs to take the Australian people into his trust and tell us what is that journey towards treaty and what does that look like? How long will it take? What will it cost? What is his plans around that? And if he can't demonstrate that, if he won't bring the Australian people into his trust, then why should the Australian people trust him?
I was watching Question Time yesterday. I clearly need more of a life. I don't have one though, but you were very fired up on this issue, and even watching the PM's face whilst Linda Burney was being questioned, he's under pressure with this, isn't he? He's been quite calm this afternoon at Arnhem Land, but he's under an immense amount of pressure.
But he can relieve himself of all that pressure if he comes clean and clearly articulates what this will look like to the Australian people. Now, the Nationals, we took a principled position some 9 months ago because we are repeating the mistakes of the past, and that is ATSIC Mark II. This isn't anything new, The Voice. We've been down this path before, and in fact, the Nationals represent the communities where that disadvantage is the most and where we bear the scars of that representative body that we had last time. And he's also failed to bring the Australian people by having due process. When you change the Constitution, you normally have a constitutional convention. Instead, he's simply denied the Australian people that and said that we'll just defer to the Uluru Statement of the Heart. The Constitution's owned by every Australian, not by just Indigenous Australians, and the Uluru Statement of the Heart is only from one cohort of Australians. This is a serious decision for Australians to make, and they should have all the information, but they should also be there as part of that journey to design and then know beyond that. And he should come clean not only on the mechanics of The Voice, but also he should go further and be clear about the mechanics of the treaty and how far that will reach.
Moving on, a farmer in WA has been advised that he could be forced to pay up to $100,000 for a cultural heritage assessment. Now, this comes after the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act came into effect, I think, July 1. David, this amount of money would cripple most farmers, wouldn't it?
Well, it will, and it'll actually stifle investment. It's taken away investment confidence already in Western Australia in the pastoral sector. This means that anybody that digs a hole greater than 50 centimetres deep or lifts more than 20 kilograms of dirt outside a hole or off that property must get a cultural heritage survey at $120 to $160 an hour, $1,200 a day. And when you're talking vast distances and areas, you are looking at significant bills, because if you want to put a fence up, there are kilometres of fencing that needs to be done that would have to be surveyed. And when you have the federal government proposing to overlay this with federal laws, and during Parliament this week, on 4 occasions, Tanya Plibersek had every opportunity to rule out that they would have the need for cultural surveys for their federal act. And within that federal act, in the options paper, it clearly says that a new body, another Indigenous body, will have the power to prevent a development or actually have it redesigned. That's far-reaching powers, and that's where the government needs to be transparent, needs to take away this anxiety that Western Australian laws will not be the national benchmark. And if Anthony Albanese can't do that, then he will continue to fuel the anxiety. No one's saying what happened at the gorge in Western Australia is something that anyone supports. But you don't need to overreact and you don't need to overreach. You need to use common sense, and Australians, whether they be Indigenous or pastoralists, have walked and worked hand in hand for generations. Just let some common sense prevail and let them to continue on that pathway without government interfering.
You're talking about politicians and you're asking them to listen to common sense. David Littleproud, you are a more optimistic man than me, and I know you're a politician, so my apologies for lumping you in. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend. Really appreciate it.